That's a heavy tank.
And the largest tank that we have at Battlefield now, for sure.
Oh, I think I got a cramp. There is not a lot of space here. Okay, here I am. Holy shit. Okay, I'm in the seat of a Merkava tank. This is the first Merkava tank in private hands in the United States. It seems like getting out of the tank is actually a bit harder than getting into it. This video is not pro or anti-Israel or anything like this. This is purely about tanks. It's about armor. That's it. There it goes, the God's Chariot. The first Merkava tanks in US in private hands. This is the first time I'm actually seeing one. I read about them, I watched documentaries about these tanks. I have never physically seen one. And here it is, in US, in Las Vegas, at Battlefield Vegas. Yep, so all of you tank nerds out there, all the tank nuts and the armor crazies, if you want to see this, one of the most unique armored vehicles in the history of armor, it's here in Las Vegas, and we got 3 of them. By rarity of it, if we were to judge it that way, this is actually even more rare as far as private owners go. It's more rare than some of the World War II German pieces of armor. This is a tank slash heavy armored personnel carrier.
Could we do more batteries? Yes. But are we? No.
Yeah, you got to lead right into it. Fighting compartment. I mean, not too compact, fairly spacious. Look at this. The breech of the gun is very similar to an M60. A 105mm gun. This is basically a licensed copy or a licensed build M68. Your fire control systems. Everything is on the right side, the same way as it is in M60. The fire controls themselves are unique, I believe. Let's now take a look at the driver's seat. Oh, it's pretty tight. It normally is. There is not a lot of space here. Very tight. I'm not even getting into it right now, but the firewall of an engine is on a bit of an angle. And you can actually see it on the camera. It's on a bit of an angle inwards towards the top. And then here are all of your controls. Merkava, second generation, if I understand it correctly. Yeah, fairly simple. Accelerator, your brakes. I imagine this is transmission control. I believe our guys said that there is a bit of a problem with transmission on this particular tank, so that looks like some repairs we're going to have to do in the future. You know, I noticed something. It seems like getting out of the tank is actually a bit harder than getting into it. Let's see if I can do this. Well, not too bad. When you're properly trained, I'm sure that becomes easier. Just like in anything. My overview, obviously, of these things is not a professional one. Another thing that I absolutely love about this tank is this coating right here. That slip resistant coating, it's all over. It's like over almost an entire tank. And I gotta tell you, it makes a difference. Like right now I'm walking on like angled surfaces and I don't worry about a thing. Like right here, I can step on it and I can stand. It may not seem like much to some, but I'm telling you, it makes a difference. Some tanks, like we have an M60 A1, and especially when it rains, some of its surfaces can be very slippery. There's no problem on this tank, at least not on this modification of a Merkava tank. Here's the second battery bay. Let's take a look. Yep, right here I can definitely see this is the tray for the batteries. This hatch in the rear of the turret. Let's see if I can lift this. I don't know if I'm strong enough. I didn't need anything today, so oh, there you go. Okay, well, it's got some weight to it, but okay. I believe this is the hydraulic system to operate your turret. Now, in most tanks in the world, this would be inside of a tank. In a Merkava tank, it sits in the outside, in the rear of the turret. Now, that probably was also done for safety reasons, because these systems, if they're hit in the battle, they are also flammable. So I'm sure putting it outside puts it in more of a risk, but then it makes for a safer fighting compartment. The safety, the crew safety on this tank is one of the main parameters of this tank. Yeah, without a doubt. All right, let's close this up. And then another thing that impressed me is the size of this hatch. God damn, you know, I have to show you this. Unbelievable. Look at the size of that cylinder. That is a heavy hatch. Very heavy. This is commander's hatch, and then the loader. I know the way I'm getting into this thing is very unprofessional. I'm sure some of the Israeli military tanker guys are probably all cringing, and it's hard for them to watch me do it, but I am not a professional. I'm not a Israeli military tanker, so take it as is. Your main gun controls, everything is in Hebrew. I don't understand a word of it. I'm sure you guys out there can read this for me. And I believe you're supposed to read it backwards, well, from our point of view. From right to left. Our restoration team here at Battlefield Vegas is going to be bringing these things back to life eventually. You know, there are some things that needs to be repaired, and this particular one is drivable. There are some issues with the transmission on this tank. Well, anyway, this isn't brand new off the factory line, obviously. It's still incredibly unique. I don't know anyone else in the United States who has one, who owns a Merkava tank. If you do, please let me know in the comments. As far as we know, this is the first Merkava tank in private hands in the United States. So I know some of you tank nuts out there, all of your armor nerds and people like me, basically. If you want to see this, all you got to do is make a trip to Las Vegas, and this is at Battlefield Vegas. You can also check out their website, battlefieldvegas.com. You can do a lot of things there. You can shoot machine guns, you can even drive certain armored vehicles, and a full spectrum of things. It will definitely be something you'll remember for the rest of your life. But yeah, basically stop by, check it out. We have them, and again, I don't think anyone in the country's got these. And we're the only ones right now, Battlefield Vegas. This was a very unique approach to armor concept, to tank concepts. This was an attempt to basically create a tank slash armored personnel carrier. And that's why you have so much space in the back. The engine is in the front, the driver on the left, and then on the right of the driver, that's where your engine is. Now the engine is also supposed to serve as an additional protection to standard armor protection on these tanks. To be honest with you, I'm not sure how much of a real armor protection the engine would provide, considering modern ordnance today. They can penetrate a lot more than an engine block. So well, at the time, this was the solution, and it allowed to use these tanks not only as tanks, but again, as armored personnel carriers. When Israeli armed forces ran into some problems with their M113s, they relied heavily on the Merkava tanks. In fact, some of these tanks, the ones that were in storage, eventually got rebuilt into armored personnel carriers. And it certainly, as a personnel carrier, it has a lot more armor than your standard personnel carriers like an M113 or the Soviet BMPs or anything like this. There's a lot more armor here. So I want to see if I can get into this driver's seat. Now, I got to tell you, this is probably, it's not the easiest thing to do. And I'm not sure, it might be easier getting in from the top hatch. So I certainly wouldn't be the top pick for the tankers. I'm too tall, but let me get it. I can't even turn around. Jesus. Okay, I gotta go legs in. God damn. All right. If you want to observe my struggle, damn, this is tight. You know, I gotta tell you, I drove a T-62, T-54M, T-55 tanks, and at least for the driver, they are a bit more spacious. And usually, on most tanks, the driver's seat is the toughest one to get into. And also, I am sure that I still need to learn how to operate the seat too. I believe it's supposed to drop. So, because I don't know how to do that yet, I am struggling right now. Getting into this thing. Goddamn, yeah, legs in. Legs first. Holy shit. Okay, my apologies for, oh, God damn it. Hold on a second. Like I said, this is, I probably need to drop the seat first. So, okay, let me get the legs in there. Oh, I think I got a cramp. I did. Yes, this needs to be dropped. Yeah, there's no way. I think I'm doing something real stupid right now. And I know you Israeli tanker guys are like, oh God, this guy is unbelievable. I need to drop this seat. No way. I can't get in. I'm too tall. Let me see what the mechanism of the seat, what it looks like. Yeah, definitely it's elevated too high. So this is, as hard as it is to get into this thing, as much of that is probably my stupidity right now. So again, I'm sure there's an easier way. No doubt. Okay, yep. I see the way the seat looks. I should have dropped it first. Okay, here I am. Holy shit. Okay, I'm in the seat of a Merkava tank. Okay, yeah, please don't make a sensation out of this. Like I said, I need to learn how to operate the seat first. Okay, I think I found the handle once I'm in. Oh yeah, here it is. Yep, there it is. Oh, I'm sure they'll make it a lot easier. Okay, you know, once I'm in this, it is tight, without a doubt, but I mean, you can certainly operate this thing. It's not, yeah, I got the controls. Basically, I have the controls here on the left. Like I said, it's tight, but you can operate this. It's not like it's, and I'm pretty tall, so out in the real world, I probably would make a tanker, you know. So I'll be too tall. Now I want to show you, I'm going to flip the camera around and I want to show you there's a turret right above me. There's a section of the turret, and that's probably what makes it a lot harder to get out of this thing through the top. Let me show you what I mean. It's probably easier if, once again, the turret is turned in a certain position, or getting out through the back might be a better solution on this tank. Here are my controls. That's, I mean, you know, like it is narrow, but fairly comfortable. I can't say it's like impossible to drive or anything like that, no. You have the turret locking, the hatch locking mechanism. And then here's what I mean. You see? I got the turret right above me. So, yeah, this thing it's pretty tight. It all means that you need to be trained properly to drive these things, just like in any tanks, you know? That's why sometimes you get these guys, they like get their first impression of a tank and so on, but they have no training, no understanding on how to properly operate this, and then they'll start like talking trash on, you know, on social media or something. Yeah, this thing is impossible, it sucks, this sucks about it and all, but it's like, yeah, you barely know how to operate it properly. So when you're trained, this whole ordeal becomes much easier. And now even just as simple as knowing how to drop the seat, and I'll show you what I did. I mean, real simple. Right here on the bottom, here's the handle. This is it. You lift it up, and then it lifts quite easy. That's it. So amazing. I am amazed. This is, yeah, I'm inside of a Merkava tank. Just want to say, this is kind of like a disclaimer. I am aware of a conflict that goes on right now in the world between Israel and its neighbors, and I just want to say this video is not pro or anti-Israel or anything like this. This is purely about tanks. It's about armor. That's it. You know, we're not promoting anything, or this video is not intended to be related in any way to a conflict, of an idea of a conflict or anything like that. This is purely about armor. You know, just some tanker guys that repair them, restore them, are just interested in something new and something unique. That's it. And please enjoy the video. And now that the seat is dropped, I want to see how easy I can get out of this thing. All right, so I'm not going to go through the top because the way the turret is turned, and it's going to be just too hard for me to do that. I'm too tall for this anyway. All right, let's see. Oh, again, I know I'm not doing this right, but... Okay, getting out. Oh, dropped my phone. Damn phones. Okay, so... Yep. All right, hey, you know, it's much easier getting out and with the seat down. Okay, let's go out through the rear of the tank. You have an extra handle here. You lift that. Now, what I like about this, it's a heavy door, but it's quite easy to operate. Okay, legs first. Oh, god damn. All right, we got this. We just got this tank. So what do you think? What's your opinion?
Honestly, I was kind of surprised at the similarities between the M60 and the Merkava on the inside. A lot of the controls and the gun system, they're similar. Some of the parts might even be direct swappables, especially when it comes to the gun system. So we're going through it. This also might be one of the highest voltage tanks. That's something we're sorting through right now. It might. Just want to say, I did notice. Oh, I'm just going to take this real quick. I want to say I did notice that there are at least 2 places for batteries in this tank, right? In each one of them. So I guess that's why, right? You're talking about the high voltage? Yeah. So it might not just be a 24 volt system. We got to look into it further. It could be upwards of 70 plus voltage. So we still need to do some research on that, but there's a battery compartment in the rear, and then there's also batteries that go inside the turret, which is sort of unique. We do have Chieftain tanks that have a kind of a similar setup, but as far as modern usable tanks, this is kind of a unique for us.
That's the rear battery compartment, right?
Yeah. So it does not have all the batteries in it, but that's what we have to jump them right now.
Yeah, it seems like it's definitely a heavy tank. What is it, 143,000 pounds?
Yes. Yeah, I think the weight of one of these without the gun and stuff, one of the drivers said 139 because it doesn't have the gun in it.
So 139 without the gun and 143,000 pounds full weight. That's a heavy tank.
And the largest tank that we have at Battlefield now, for sure.
The suspension is also a unique feature on these tanks too. Most tanks in the world today use what's called torsion bar suspension. Now let me show you. I'm going to do more of a detailed video in the future because we just got these, but yeah, here it is. Here's that monstrous suspension right there. You got that outer carriage, and with the double springs, there's a spring inside of a spring. Obviously is designed to handle a lot of weight. Now the advantage of this type of suspension is, number one, all your components on the outside of the tank, well, most of them, so it makes it easier to repair in case of damage, which in war, I'm sure it's understandable that that happens a lot. And also this type of suspension can handle a lot more weight than your standard torsion bar suspension. However, the downside, of course, is the weight. It's heavy. So, but again, you know, when you're weighing your cons and pros, and you just make the decision accordingly. And then obviously the Israeli engineers made that decision. This was a proper suspension for them. Yeah, looking at the front, you can definitely see, first thing I notice is that the lower armor plate, usually on most tanks in the world, this lower armor plate would be much more compact, much shorter. On Merkava tank, it's large. From the point of armor protection, yeah, it's not the best thing in the world for sure, but I believe they just didn't have any other choice because you have the engine in the front, and now you can actually see right here, you see the hump over this right here, which will be looking from that direction, will be on the left. The driver is on the left, and then of course you have this hump. That's where your engine and your transmission bay is. Another thing about the Merkava tanks is that they're fuel tanks. Their fuel tanks is basically right here at the tip of the nose, right at the front. So again, unique. It makes it for more vulnerable if it's struck in a battle as far as being disabled, but it probably adds protection to the crew in a sense of that your fuel is not inside, finding compartment is inside of an engine bay. So that probably adds some protection to it, you know, less fire hazards and stuff. But again, you get tapped in the front and, you know, you're out, your motor is out. So I'm sure that's the negative side. But again, you know, don't want you to take this as just primitive criticism of this design or anything like that, because I'll tell you this, no tank is perfect. You know, you can study the subject all you want and nothing is perfect. You know, every armored vehicle in the world has its strengths and its weaknesses, and considering the concept that was used here, it worked to a degree, and it's not without flaws. It is a large tank. There is a lot of surface to armor. So I also know that there are a lot of myths about this tank, mostly because of the secrecy that surrounded it for so long. And you know how people, when they don't have access to information, they will start to assume or sometimes just simply make things up. Yeah, the armor protection on the Merkava tanks is, I don't think it's like, you know, the greatest in the world. in the world of tanks. But again, you have to consider the concept. You have to consider what it was designed for, what it was built for. If you take into account that it's not only a tank, it's also a personnel carrier, a troop carrier, that explains everything. So from that point of view of its functionality, it's still a pretty incredible machine, without a doubt.